What you want, when you want it, where you want it. This is The Mesh.
Hey everybody, I'm Amy Chang, a nurse, a mom, and a health coach, and this is Healthy AF, where honesty and humor and heart meet real talk about feeling good again, inside and out. We're cutting through the noise, dropping the guilt, and reminding you getting healthy isn't about perfection. It's about choosing yourself, one loving decision at a time. Let's get into it. Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Healthy AF. My name is Amy Chang, and I'm a health coach here with Healthy Life Health and Wellness Coaching, and I'm so delighted you're here. It is Motivation March, and I am all here for it. I get so many questions about motivation, and who doesn't struggle with motivation? I know I do. So here I have laid out a full 4 podcasts to really look at what I hear about in my practice, what I struggle about myself, and what's in the literature about how do we stay motivated, how do we lose motivation, how can we incorporate all the tools in our toolbox to keep motivated and moving forward. So this week, we are tackling internal motivation. Now, I told you last week that we were going to talk about inauthentic and authentic and external motivation, internal motivation. There are so many different ways to tackle this beast. I want to start here with internal. Next week, we'll talk about external. And I'm also going to give you in both of these little podcasts, we'll spend a little bit of time at the end of the podcast talking about internal motivation busters and what I like to help clients do to make sure that their internal motivation is like revved up and going. Okay, so I'm sure that we can all relate to those things in our lives that we want to do, we feel drawn to or driven to do. These are usually things that are fun, they help us learn, they feel good, and they help us grow. We might get a great sense of accomplishment with these things. Those are the things you're really drawn to. Well, how do we cultivate that, in something like losing 25 pounds or getting back in the gym? We have to go into the why. This takes us right into the very first little part of coaching where we really look at well, why do you want that thing? What's your vision for yourself? What do you really value? When we look there, we can create this deep sense of connectedness to our greater purpose, to what we really want in our lives. It makes our motivation more sustainable. And also, I want to say right now, it dives us into the fluffiness. The fluffiness of the internal motivation are all those intangible things, like a sense of accomplishment. That's different than the scale says you've lost 25 pounds, right? So how do we measure that sense of accomplishment? How do we, cultivate and go after that feeling? Well, there are ways that we do that, and we build those skills of looking for it. That's one way we drive up our internal motivation. So when we look internal motivation, we look to the fluff. We look, who do we see ourselves as in the world, or what do we really want for ourselves? What I love about internal motivation is it's sustainable. We're super connected to that. So think about those days where the sun's been out, you had a great night's sleep, you ate a good meal last night, maybe had a few more carbs than you typically do, and you're like, I want to run because when I run, I feel great. That's that internal motivation. I want to read this book because it's so fascinating. I'm learning all these things about how dogs communicate, and I love my dog. That's your internal motivation. That sounds like fun and fluffy. That's one type of internal motivation. I want to tiptoe real quick over into another type of internal motivation, and that is pain. I think that most of us can relate to having a time in your life where you have been in a sufficient amount of pain to do just about anything you needed to do to get out of that pain. Sometimes it's grief, sometimes it's a heartbreak. I've had all different kinds of pain in my life, but I wanted to share with you one specific type of pain, and that is the pain of not fitting into your pants. Now, we can laugh because it's kind of funny, but I want to share with you the profound motivation that came out of one afternoon. I put on my jeans and I had gained some weight, and my pants felt so uncomfortable. I was trying to move around the kitchen and do the cooking and, live my life. And those pants were so uncomfortable that right then I decided no more. I have had it with this. I made a call to my trainer. He told me exactly what to eat, and I ate it consistently for about 12 weeks. I lost the weight, and I fit back into my pants. Now, that was an internal, I'm in pain and I've had it. I don't want to step over that while a pain motivator is not always as sustainable as another internal motivator, it is an internal motivator. And if you can, while you're in action, work on other internal motivators, like, actually, my body feels really great when I eat this way and I like feeling great. Then I can go play golf and my shoulder doesn't hurt. That's a great way to combine both those internal motivators. Now, what we're not going to talk about during March is actually fear as a motivator, because fear as a motivator, what I've seen, is a little bit different from a pain motivator. And the fear motivator can make us do some really crazy, unhealthy things. So whenever a client comes to me with an internal motivator that is actually fear, we try to shift out of that into something more positive almost immediately and address the fear that's laying there. Okay, so internal motivators, you've got your fun, you've got your play, you've got your learn, you've got your I'm in pain and this cannot last. What busts up your internal motivation? For one thing, since it's first one that comes to mind, since internal motivations are so clearly tied to your purpose, sense of self, we want to look for a lack of clarity. I hear this when people come to me and say, I want to lose 25 pounds is at the top of my head, because that is usually one of the biggest requests I hear. I want to lose 25 pounds. Well, for the most part, that's not actually what they want. Once we get really down to it, what they want is what everybody else wants. They want to feel good, look good, feel confident, feel free to do what they want when they want to, and not have any shame around their body. They want to love their body and feel good in their body and live happy. Okay, well, that may or may not be tied to the scale. So we can set, the weight loss as a goal, but until we're clear that actually the internal motivation is, I want to look good, feel good, do what I want when I want, that's the real driving force that we need to focus in on. So having that lack of clarity can be a real buster for your internal motivations. Internal motivations take the deep dive. Second buster is not starting. Because a lot of the actions that are internally motivated for us are actions that make us feel good or have fun. There are those of us who were raised that you don't deserve any fun or feel good until your chores are done and everybody else is taken care of. When we know that we're wired like this, it can be difficult to even start on any action that we have a drive to start, because we also have this limiting belief that we're being selfish or that it's not time yet. We might hear thoughts like, well, when I make enough money, I'll go on that vacation. Or when I get the kids settled, then I'll read a book. Them kids are never going to be settled. I've raised 3 of them. When this person is okay, then I'll, take the time to meditate. That can be a real buster for internal motivations, is not putting ourselves in the forefront. And so what I like to do with that is just switch it around and help people really. This has helped me a great deal because I'm so outward focused with helping other people or serving other people. I put that right back around on me. Like, hey, Amy, you're really not going to be able to serve anyone with the capacity and love and joy that you would like to serve them unless you go play. So you go play has to happen before you overflow your bucket onto the ones you love. And that mindset shift can really help me get started. The other tactic I like to deal with the not starting, because I don't have all my stuff done or my to-do list is not complete or no one else is happy yet, so I can't start mine, is to just say, okay, so maybe you can't feel like you deserve or are worthy or have the time to do that 2-hour gym trip, but how about can you just make it in your brain that you throw a 1-minute plank down? Just a 1 minute, or a 1-minute meditation, or take the time to do 3 deep breaths and maybe a prayer, right? So if you are getting stuck on that, I can't start my own because the world is not 100% perfect yet, how about just one teeny tiny, or realizing that you contribute to the world, but only if you take your playtime. Last little thing I wanted to throw out is an idea. We told you last podcast that we were going to go over inauthentic and authentic motivators. When we look at internal motivation, we sometimes get a little inauthentic and we think it's an internal motivator, and actually it's a missing need. Let me explain. You think it's an authentic motivator that you want to lose that 25 pounds and go to that class reunion because you want to feel good. But you're basing your feeling good on whether or not other people think you look good or are cool or are successful. And so really, you're not really losing that 25 pounds so that you can feel confident about yourself. You're really losing that 25 pounds so that you can buy your belonging or get the girl or, be the star. And that becomes very quickly an external motivator and frankly, something we can't control. So that's a really sneaky little thing that pops up sometimes when we look at really, why do you want to do that? And it sounds real good at first, but unless you have a good friend or a coach or therapist call you out on that, sometimes you can be dealing with an inauthentic motivator, and then you're like, I don't know why I'm not doing what I said I was going to do. Well, you're not doing what you said you were going to do because actually it's not connected to your big why. It's connected to a need for belonging that isn't being met, and you're trying to sort of scooch around that. So be wary of that inauthentic internal motivator. The last thing I want to say about internal motivation is that it is something we cultivate. It's not something that's always in there and pushing us to complete and complete and complete. So if you're struggling with your internal motivation, it's okay. Sometimes we need to start our actions before our motivations are actually there. I know I was walking around the block this morning trying to have a little mental health break before our podcast, and there's some situations in life that I'm just not really loving right now. And I thought to myself, okay, Amy, well, you can have some painful feelings about something and still go in and podcast. So how about we try that? Sometimes you just have to say like, yeah, my internal motivation is not there, and I'm going to go do that thing, and we'll just see what happens. It's a cultivating process. It's not a, you pick up your shoes and put them on, like you pick up your motivation and put it on. Sometimes we have to love it up a little, and we love it up through actions, through conversations, through breathing, through just really getting connected to what we really want and who we really want to be in the world. Okay, that's all I have on internal motivation. Next week is external motivators, and I'm super excited to talk about that because I think they get a bad rap and they don't really deserve it. If you're feeling flat, if you're feeling on fire, embrace it. You're doing great. Give yourself some grace, and I will see you next time on Healthy AF. Thanks for hanging out with me today on Healthy AF. I hope something you heard helps you take one small, kind step toward your healthiest self. If you love this episode, hit subscribe so you never miss a conversation. And if you want more support, head over to myhealthylife.coach to connect with me. Remember, you don't have to do it perfectly. You just have to start choosing you. See you next time.
You've been listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Check us out online at themesh.tv. Discover other network shows and give us feedback on what you just heard.